Hello, Way of Joy sisters. Today I'd like to follow up on the work that we've been doing with the Heaven Triad of the Way of Joy system. So we've worked on basically the heaven realm having to do with our inspiration, our guidance, our ability to connect to that internal observer self, our ability to have a large perspective, to dream big, to have vision. Okay, so we worked on the law and the principle and the practice, or the heaven, human, and earth aspects of that triad from the Way of Joy system, which is basically within stillness, motion, within motion, stillness, how to stay centered when your life feels chaotic, when there's a lot of things going on, when you feel like you're just kind of running to stay in place. How do we come back to center, be able to really make space internally for that internal listening that the observer self invites us to do? Then we worked with the human aspect, the principle, which is balance brings harmony. How do we move from oppositions, stillness and motion being one of them, expansion, contraction, and more? How do we have a sense of balancing, being able to flow from one expansion to a contraction to expansion again? How do we balance all of that in our lives and in our bodies? And we finished with the earth aspect, which is the practice, which is embrace wholeness. So embrace wholeness is how we ground the heaven triad, because it's a way of saying, you're again accessing that observer self and saying yes to what is. It moves us out of any kind of victim mindset where we feel like, oh, things are just happening to me. It allows us to say yes to what is, and then further down the line with this system, how to make choices, let go of what doesn't work and hold on to what does. But in the heaven triad, it's saying yes. You're saying yes to your own life. So today what I'd like to do is I'd like to move into the human triad. So again, like the heaven triad, we have three different aspects: heaven, law, human, principle, earth, practice. And today I want to work with the law of the human triad. The law of the human triad is chi moves in the space between. So this takes that idea. I always love to use the image of a river or a stream moving around stones and boulders and tree branches, and water adapting to find its way through. The way water can be so adaptable. Chi works in the same way. It rides the blood. The blood goes around circulates through our body, and that there's the sense that when we have that sense of really allowing openings to happen in us that allow chi to move, and that we're not using it to push against obstacles. So this is coincidental with the form that some of you know, Blossom in the Spring, which of course this is exactly the right time of year to be doing it. Where in Blossom in the Spring, the beginning of the form has the roots go down into the earth, moving around sticks, stones, and obstacles. It's a grounding that happens in the Blossom in the Spring process, where we're really working with adaptability, with flexibility, with ability to shift and change. And it's the idea that as chi moves in the space between, we allow ourselves to recognize that in essence we are basically energetic beings, that energy is moving all the time and in relationship to one another or to the world around us, and that there's this constant flow of reciprocity happening, which is part of what makes it human realm, right? Because the human realm is all about relationship and connection. How do we interact inside of ourselves with other people, as well as with the whole globe, or with the whole, all living beings on the planet, or maybe even with beings who are no longer alive. So the chi moves in the space between is really about opening up that consciousness about being energy, being pure energy, as opposed to, which is of course something that never dies, right? It's something that just continues on, transforms in terms of how it shows up, but it is there, that's uniting. It's part of what creates that all that is, or being part of we are all one type of consciousness. So the form that I like to do to embody chi moves in the space between is as above, so below. This is such a basic Qigong form, and I know it's a big review for some of you, or maybe it's very, very simple, but it's always good to come back to this form, particularly when we're looking at how to open up our awareness around our intention. So during this time, as we're working with the human realm, we're really looking at what does your heart desire? What do you want to see happen? Some of you have really big visions. Some of you are just really about getting through, with what you need to do now. And wherever you are on that spectrum is totally fine. But this is really about what is your heart saying to you and how do you express that out in the world. And the heaven aspect of it says, let's look at where we have movement as opposed to where we have blocks. Where can chi just easily flow, and how do we increase that sense of opening? Not pushing up against obstacles, but how do we really allow this, just like water wears away rock into sand, that same kind of thing. There's a wearing away as opposed to pushing or breaking open or something like that. It's really about opening up to possibility. It's possibility thinking at its finest here in the heaven aspect of the human triad. So, as above, so below. We clap the hands together and rub them. And you want to rub them fairly briskly so that your palms and hands start to get warm. And rub them even faster if you can, so that you're really heating it up. And if you look at your hands, they should be getting red, or at least maybe plum hands, right? A little speckled. And then you're going to close your hands together and just have a little space or a hollow between your palms. I'm going to ask you to drop your shoulders. And let's work on the stance first. So make sure that you've got your feet hip distance apart. The ball of the big toe, ball of the little toe, and heel, the 3 points on the bottom of each foot, are planted. Your knees are soft. Your tailbone is dropping down towards the earth like a kangaroo's tail. And then we have that sense of opening up in that lower back and lower abdomen. So here in the human triad, we want to have a sense of the base that's holding us is solid. And that allows the heart to relax. So be careful that you're not pushing your chest forward when you're standing, but that your chest is relaxed and the crown is lifted up towards the sky, because the human realm is where we bring heaven down to earth and earth up to heaven. So we want to be a nice open vessel for that exchange. Okay, bring your hands forward a little bit now. And again, drop those shoulders and imagine your clavicles just break out into a big grin. So your collarbones are smiling and your shoulders are widening. So we're lifting from above, grounding from below, and opening across the chest and between the shoulder blades. Now, you should probably feel some heat still between your palms. If you don't, you're welcome to just rub again. Otherwise, what we're going to do is we're going to just open the hands apart as you inhale. And then exhale as the hands come in together. I'd like you to tune in to what you feel between your hands. So as your hands open, just notice what you feel. And don't go any further so far that you don't continue to feel that sense of connection between the hands. If you lose that sense of connection, go ahead and rub your hands together again. And as you inhale, let's play with how far can you bring your hands apart and still feel like there's an energetic connection between them. Uh-oh, I'm going out of frame. And then as you exhale, bring your hands together. And you might feel that they're either being pulled together or the opposite, like a magnetic repulsion, that their hands are, you're having to push against the substance. So some people feel one way, some people feel another way. Most people feel that sense that there's almost like an opposing magnet feeling as you bring your hands together. Your hands are being pushed apart, and as you bring them together, you can feel pressure in the laogong, in the palms of the hands. Okay, so relax your jaw, relax the space between your eyebrows. I have one student who used to call this the accordion move, and that's, of course, that kind of movement is what it is, especially with that sense of pressure as you bring your hands together. But let's go ahead and, as you do this, inhale and just let yourself feel your heart expand. And as you exhale, there's a sense of relaxation and release that happens with a heart expanding. So as you inhale and your lungs expand, let that be part of what is the instigator to move the hands apart. Then as you exhale, there's a relaxation and there's a just pulling yourself back in to center. So again, breathing in, expanding, and breathing out, contracting. And again, inhale, and exhale. And breathing in breathing out. Let's bring the hands to the heart and take a moment to just breathe into your heart center to see if you can feel the warmth of your hands. And I'm going to have you circle over your chest 3 to 9 times. Okay, so let's do this. This is 3, so let's go ahead and go for 9 times. Breathe, relax that jaw, and you want to feel the heat between your hands and your sternum. And of course, behind your sternum is your thymus gland, which is the center of your immune system. So that's about 9. Let's go around in the other direction 9 times. Make sure again that as you do this, you're tuning in to that sense of heat or warmth between your palms and your sternum, warming the immune system, warming your ability to fight off colds and flus. Depending on where you are and what your weather is like these days, you might be experiencing that. We just do a couple more times around. That's it, good. And then bring your hands back out, and again, inhale 3 times. And exhale. Use the warmth of your heart now to, again, initiate that move as you expand and contract. One more time, breathing in and breathing out. And hands come to the heart center. I'd like to give you a little bonus move because we're really right now in the spring, and there's a part of the form blossom in the spring that some of you may be experiencing, which is that you have an idea, you're starting to implement, but then there's a sense of contraction. Either you have naysayers externally, people saying you can't do this, or you run into obstacles or things that stop you, or internally you're sort of stopping yourself for whatever reason. The form from Blossom, the piece from Blossom in the Spring is simply this. So I'd like you just to think of an intention, and the intention starts to kind of show itself. So an intention of something that you want to see happen this season. You're going to sort of see what's out there in the world, then there's a moment of coming back together, more strength, courage, contraction. There's a contraction here. We're listening into the heart more deeply, and then we open out. And when you open out, you want to turn your palms up. Okay? So that's all. That's just this little bonus move if should you choose to do it. And if you're dealing with something where you feel like you're in a little bit of a stop-start with a process, is to start to open, to have a bud, start to open, appear to close, gather more strength, courage, and compassion from the heart, and then open out into full blossom and open. I'll probably be doing a little bit more with that in our next coaching session. In fact, I invite you to join us. I want to do a Zoom session so that we can go a little deeper into Blossom in the Spring. But for now, that's what I'd like you to work with, is specifically as above, so below. Add the bonus one if you want. And I'd love to ask you, what is the intention that you're setting for this season? What is it that is coming to you that feels really important for you to see expressed? Until next time, I look forward to connecting with you again. Be well and let the chi flow. Bye-bye.